Now, let's take a look at our first story. Of course, our guest is on standby this morning because as Nigeria prepares for another election cycle, one question continues to generate debate across the country. Do elections truly reflect the will of the people, or are they increasingly influenced by the individuals and groups with the deepest pockets now?
Well, campaigns today require enormous financial resources, from rallies and media campaigns to logistics and mobilizations. Elections have become increasingly expensive. While funding is a legitimate part of every democratic process, there are concerns about whether money is beginning to outweigh the power of the ballot.
So is it a case of the man who pays the piper dictates the tone? The man with the bigger pockets dictates who's going to be voted for? But let's get to understand this important discussion today. We are now joined virtually by the Chief Executive Officer of Kimpact Development Initiative, one of Nigeria's leading election observation and democratic governance organizations, Mr. Bukola Idowu is a standby for us this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Idowu.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Thank you for being here with us this morning. But quickly, let's understand the issue here. When we ask, who really decides Nigeria's elections? Is it the voters or the funders? Or what does the evidence from election observers like you now, Kimpact, can actually tell us? We've seen INEC move how much governors can spend in campaign to about 3 billion, right? So is it a voter's decision to decide who gets into office, or is the bank's decision of who gets into office? When I mean bank now, is the money in the pocket that decides who gets into office?
So I think basically, I will answer the question this way: that largely, the person that decide who get into an office in Nigeria largely is decided by the man with the highest or fattest pockets. And that is just the reality. And I say largely because the citizen and every other variable still have a role to play. But when you look at it largely, and when I say largely, because you have to look at the enormous resources in terms of financial resources going into election. So, and not only into election, but securing to be a candidate of a political party. As of now, the Constitution says that you have to be sponsored by a political party. Our laws in Nigeria do not recognize independent candidacy. So you have to belong to a political party. And now, before the political party will sponsor you to be on the ballot, you have to spend a lot of resources to consult, to campaign within your party. And at the end of the day, the next stage, because all those campaigning within your party, consultation, take a lot of money from you. And then the next thing is that the political party will open the race by asking interested parties or participants or candidate aspirants to come and collect, obtain their form. Now, in obtaining this form, nomination form, expression of interest, we have seen in the past election that a single form can be as high as 50 million, can be as high as 100 million. That tells you the kind of money going into that election. Now, before even becoming a candidate, to express your interest and to spend, to obtain the form, you're already spending 100 million. Now think about that, is outside the campaign for the primary itself. Either it's going to be a direct primary or indirect primary or consensus, you are also going to spend money. So just begin to look at that. If eventually you are able to secure that ticket and nobody takes you to court, if anybody takes you to court or fellow contestant takes you to court, you now begin to spend money on the litigation, on senior advocate of Nigeria to defend your mandate. At the end of the day, you get into the race and then you start spending for campaign. For governorship, you have to, for instance, Osun election is coming now. A candidate will have to campaign in 30 local governments, and that is enormous resources. That is physical campaigning in 30 local governments. We've not talked about the billboard, the banner, the radio jingle, the TV jingle,
Right.
and then also door to door. So it's a lot of resources. And after after the election, you also have to spend a lot of money to now say, look, if somebody is taking you to court again, post-election litigation takes a whole lot of money. So when you look at it as it is now, it is the people with the highest, fattest pocket that determine who wins an election and who rules an election. However, that particular narrative can still be, like I said, it's just largely as it is, but that can still be upturned when you have a lot of citizens participating in the entire process. Then the money may not matter. But as it is now, when you even look at party ownership in Nigeria, it is who pays the piper that dictates the tune. Because, for instance, we have seen a situation where governors, where the richest person in that particular location sponsor and fund the political party. At the end of the day, when a single person is funding the political party, paying the rent, buying form, sustaining political party as staffs, and then at the end of the day, you want to have an election, the person automatically assume a position of dictating and who gets what in that political party. So what it is today that we are running in Nigeria is technically a financially induced electoral process that is so expensive that somebody with competence and character but without the financial watches may not be able to compete favorably.
Right. Let me take you a bit back to the concluded Ekiti elections, which you rightly observed and, gave all of your observations. INEC put 3 billion naira for governorship for the campaign. Did the Ekiti election stick to that financial benchmark? And
absolutely not. We track. One of the things we do at Kimpact Development Initiative is we track campaign finance, and we've started tracking for Osun now. But let's go back to the Ekiti you mentioned. Now, you have the candidates of APC.
Mr. Bukola, if you can still hear me, we'll try to re-establish contact with the Kimpact Development Initiative CEO now, Bukola Idowu. But then we're looking at the issues here. If the previous election in Ekiti, if these monies that INEC have set, the benchmark have set, if the Ekiti people or the Ekiti election did stick to that financial benchmark or that money, and also you're part of the conversation, let us know your thoughts via the text messages as well. And we can take your calls, but we can take your WhatsApp chat. We can take your WhatsApp messages on the topic this morning. Looking at who dictates it, getting into office or re-electing or electing your officials into office. Is it by the voters or by fundraisers? I guess we have Mr. Bukola Idowu back with us now.
Yes, apologies for that. I think you can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now loud and clear.
So basically, the candidates spend more than that, and again, the rest of the candidate of APC spend more than 3 billion, and that is the combination of political events, which talks about rally, mega rally, local government rally, word-to-word rally, and then combination of radio and TV jingle, both at the state level and the national level. You also talk about the billboard. You also talk about consultation. Again, another thing you also have to look at when it comes to political finance and campaign finance, political finance basically, is that the election day spending is also a major component of election spending. So, for instance, what is election day spending? How much do political party and how much do a candidate spend on vote buying on the election day? Just multiply that. That gives you an idea of what it looks like that they are spending. Now, let me give you an example. Most of the people that are not winning election in Nigeria is not because they don't have ideas. It's not because they don't have they don't have that competence, but it's because they cannot match. Because of the huge amount of money involved, is because they cannot actually spend that. Now, let's go back. When you have over 2,000 For instance, in Ekiti, you have over 2,445 polling units. Now, if a candidate now budgets certain amount of money, just let's even be very conservative. Let's say a candidate budget like about 500,000, or let's just say lesser, let's even say 250,000 per polling unit. Multiply that 250,000 multiplied by 2,000 polling units. That tells you the amount of money that is being spent on election day. That is for vote buying. Now, you have not talked about 2,445 political party agents. That is, if you deploy party agents to all the polling units, 100%. So that you are going to also pay them. In some instances, they get as high as 50,000, in some instances 25,000, in some instances 30,000. Multiply that. That tells you the enormous resources that goes into contesting election in Nigeria. And I think something needs to be done about that. If you don't do anything about that, because there are a lot of things that we, personally, that we as an organization have seen that as, very wrong, most especially in the aspects of the legal framework, the laws that we are running in Nigeria, and that is a lot of we have a lot of a lot of defects in that. If that can be worked on, then we maybe we will have a bit of sanity.
Mr. Bukola, I'd like to ask, where is the problem? Is it in the system? And is it the Nigerian people encouraging the system to keep this problem running? Or the problem is in the people? The Nigerian people started this whole problem by accepting this vote buy in the first place, because if there are no sellers, there'll be no buyers. And there are no buyers, there'll be no sellers. But then, where is this problem basically? Is it the system or the people?
I'm going to be frank with you, is with both. And let me explain. Now, let's first of all look at the system. Now, the system, the kind of law we are running in terms of our political finance law in Nigeria is defective. You just mentioned that the ceiling, the ceiling for a governor for a governorship candidate to spend is 3 billion.
Right.
Now, let's ask ourselves a question. What is the rationale behind that 3 billion? And I give you an example. So somebody that contested in Ekiti with 16 local government, somebody that contested in Bayelsa with 8 local government are spending 3 billion. Does that make any sense? So think about it. Kano, you said somebody in Kano is going to spend 3 billion as a governorship candidate. Kano have 44 local government. Bayelsa is also going to spend 3 billion. Bayelsa have 8 local government. So what is the rationale? So when you look at that, it doesn't really add up. Now, you now said the president should spend 5 billion. Now, if a governor is spending 3 billion in his own state, and then you expect somebody that will tour the entire 36 states to spend 5 billion, it's not realistic. So what it means is that logic of campaign finance is practically flawed on its own, and that is why people feel like this thing is not realistic, so to go about behind the corner and spend spend beyond that, and then that cannot be declared. Number two is this: when you have a law and say don't spend more than 3 billion, then who track the law? Who punish the offenders? So systemically, now INEC is saddled with that responsibility. And I tell you, INEC is not monitoring and is not punishing anybody that is not, that goes above that. In fact, in some instances, they are so overwhelmed that they are not even tracking what the political party are spending. So what the law says that the political party or the candidate will now submit what they have spent to INEC. Do they have the power to track? And I think that is one of the reasons we need to begin to talk about unbundling of INEC. Probably the aspect of finances and tracking, we have ICPC, we have EFCC, and then probably they can take this on and let INEC focus on conducting election. But as it is today, that system is not really working because nobody has been punished. Let me ask you, if APC at the national level now flouts that particular provision, then what is the penalty from INEC? Do they, because of flouting that, disqualify the candidate? When you look at our law, these things are not explicit. So systemically, and when you look at the institution and system, then it's a bit flawed. Then again, you now come into political party. When a political party is selling a form for as high as 100 million and nobody regulates that. Now, we are also looking at people donate to political party that have no record. When you go to even Ghana here, you go to the US, you go to the UK, everybody that donate to political party is actually out there. There is a way to track it, but that is why we have a lot of dark money in our politics that are not passing through the financial institutions. They are passing through soccer waves, they are passing through septic tanks to fund an election. These are cash outside the banks. So you have a system that is not accountable. And lastly, I will say, even the citizen. Now, our attitude, we need to change. I have seen people talk about is because of poverty, people are selling their vote. I think it's about our attitude, because when you look at the poverty rate in Nigeria, poverty rate in Gambia, poverty rate in Syria alone their standard of living is not as good as Nigeria. But I just mentioned these two countries now that have conducted election and they do not sell their votes. So it is not about poverty, because some people are poorer than us, they do not sell their votes. But here in Nigeria, we still have a situation where we sell our vote, even with all our our wealth and our wealth and our standard of living, we still sell our votes. Let me explain to you what I'm trying to say.
Right.
When you look at those delegate system, people go to the delegate system. Even the rich people still go and collect dollars to vote in primaries. So is that poverty? Will you say these people collecting dollars are poor, in quote? No, it's our attitude. I think our attitude should change. We have to begin to see things as we have to build a nation, we have to uphold integrity, and we have to do the right thing. And somebody, if you break the law, somebody need to be held accountable. Until we do that, we will keep continuing this. And my fear, in closing, lastly, is this. My fear is this. If care is not taken, we are likely going to see in the next two election cycle, which technically in the next two World Cups, we are likely going to begin to see Yahoo in our National Assembly, people fraudster in our National Assembly, not because they have competence, but because they have the money to secure the vote. And we have to do something about that.
I have my colleague here. He's going to come in shortly, right? How quickly, if you can, right? How can we hold the system accountable? We've spoken about how can the system, work? How can we change all of that? But how can the Nigerian people hold the system accountable? We're getting to another by-election now. By August 15th, the Osun election will happen. And moving to the election, we've seen lots of violence that have happened already. Observers such as Kimpact, like you, have also seen all that have happened, right? But how can we hold the system accountable that when we even get into the Osun election, we can even do something better and implement all of the lessons we've learned from Ekiti?
So I think it's both civil society, citizen, and the media. We have to work together. Everybody, we have to. We have to work together, and by that, we have to keep the conversation on the front burner. Let me explain what I mean. In Edo election in 2024, Edo governorship election, people were arrested for vote buying. Then you look at Ondo 2024 election, people were arrested. Now Ekiti, people were arrested. Even from 2018 in Osun election, people were being arrested for vote buying. But let me now ask you, EFCC will just do the media trial on election day and say, hey, they have arrested people. ICPC will say they have arrested people. Police will arrest people. What happened to conviction?
Arrest.
And I think we need to keep it on the front burner. We must make sure that the people arrested are being brought to book. Without that, forget about it. This thing will keep going. And one point I will also make is that we all must work and strengthen the law. Then again, hold INEC accountable. Let me ask you, INEC track, let me tell you this, INEC in 2019, INEC track political campaign finance. Their reports were never made public. In 2023, they did the same. Their reports were never made public. In Edo, governorship election, they track their report were never made public. In Ondo, they track their report was never made public. In Anambra, their report were never made public. Even in Ekiti here. So if the institution that is responsible to hold political party accountable in terms of their political finance structure are not even putting their reports there and not even sanctioning anybody, whether the political party submits report or not, nobody knows. Then we have to hold INEC accountable. They must rise up and do. We as media, we should ask them, we should keep asking them, how many political parties have submitted their political finance report to INEC? Make it public. Do they spend above? And then we need to begin to ask this question. Without that, we are just moving in circle.
And talking about asking questions, permit me to also point you to what the penalty stipulates in the Electoral Act when a particular candidate or a particular political party, has exceeded the spending limit. The law says that the candidate is liable to a fine of 1% of the permitted limit or 12 months imprisonment or both upon conviction. I mean, in terms of punishment for what is an electoral violation, does that really match up?
It doesn't at all. 1% doesn't really match up. And technically, look, let me tell you why I said that law is defective. You just talk about the person that will be punished now is the candidate. However, when you look at that law, there is nowhere in that law that says the candidate must submit their spending. So this is what it means. The law says set a limit for candidate and kept quiet about political party limit. And what the politicians have done now is that they will now say, look, if you ask them, you spend more than 3 billion, they will say, no, I spend 2 billion, and then my political party spend 1 billion extra. So you cannot hold them accountable because the law did not differentiate parties financing, party spending, candidate spending, and third party spending. These are three different things in political finance that you need to look. Political party, for instance, APC, PDP, ABGA, NDC, ADC, they have their own money they are spending from the political party. Now, that is number one. The candidate also set up his own campaign council and spend money. Then we now have third party. That is when somebody, a committee cannot spend on your behalf. Then how do you aggregate this? The law did not talk about that. I only mentioned that candidate. So that is why that is not realistic because that law is defective. We need to see how we harmonize it because the political party is silent. I mean, the law is silent about third party spending and political party financing. At the end of the day, just put a blanket of 3 billion.
But in fact, there is also a provision in that law that says there should be a submission of a separate audited return to INEC within 6 months of the election, and this has to be signed by the party auditors, the party chairman, and a couple of other stakeholders, a sworn affidavit.
That is what I am saying. So let's ask INEC. After 6 months of Edo governorship election, where is the report of the political party? Where is the report after 6 months of Ondo governorship election? Anambra just ended. Where is the report? That is why I'm saying that INEC have not been making the report public. And that is problem. So nobody knows what happened. Then again, you now have all these political party that after that 6 months that they are supposed to submit reports, then they said, oh, they are in court. There are two factions. Then who is going to sign it? So these are a lot of fundamental things that even they created themselves to evade the law, and that is what is happening. So for instance, now when you look at PDP, who is the auditor now that will sign their spending after the election? Who is? They have factions. These are the issues that we are also dealing with here. But INEC also have the primary responsibility. Where are the political party complying? Where are the reports? And so, which means if INEC is not standing up to their responsibility, all these shenanigans in terms of reckless spending in our election will keep going on.
All right. We want to thank you so much, Mr. Bukola Idowu, CEO of Kimpact Development Initiative. There's a lot more to talk about, but this is the much that time will permit us.
I'm telling you, a lot.
We want to thank you so much for your expert insights on the program this morning.
Right.
Thank you so much. Yeah.